In Agile, what we're trying to do, fix time and cost, get the business and the product development organizations to decompose the work in such a way, strategically prioritize, focus on the minimally viable product all the time, and optimize our chances of being successful together as an organization. It's not helpful for the business to fix all three and to demand that the product development teams try to pull a rabbit out of their hat. Sometimes that works, but it's a low probability effort. The counter reaction to that is we're Agile, we won't make any commitments. That's a non-starter too, right? Because again, we have businesses to run. Okay, everybody, today I want to talk a little bit about the idea of the triple constraints. And so if anybody grew up in project management or has been familiar with project managers and what we do, I kind of consider myself a project manager. That's a little bit of the stuff that I grew up in. Probably 15, 20 years ago, got really involved in Agile project management and started trying to figure out how to bring some of the structure and discipline of kind of traditional PMI methods into the Agile world, or how to apply agility into project management. It's kind of been a passion of mine for a while. So this idea of the triple constraints is really near and dear to my heart. And so what it basically says, what the triple constraints basically say is that there's three variables in project management. There's time, there's cost, and there's scope. And the idea behind the triple constraints is that you get to pick two, but the third one has to float. So if you're going to fix scope and you're going to fix time, you have to be able to vary cost. If you're going to fix cost and you're going to fix scope, you have to be able to vary time. What Agile comes along and tries to do is it basically says we're going to fix time and cost, basically the duration of the sprint or the duration of the release, and the teams, the size of the teams that are applied to them, right? So we have a fixed duration, we have a fixed cost. And what we're going to do is we're going to vary scope. So what the backlog in Agile enables us to do is it enables us to produce, requirements or, features or, behaviors in the system, prioritize them in such a way that we can start at the top with the highest priority. And when we get to the out of time and we're out of money, that we have something that is of the highest value that we can ship. If priorities change and I need to pull something out and put something in, I have the ability to flex scope within those time and cost constraints. Now, one of the things in the industry that's really interesting, and again, as a CEO, I have a lot of empathy for this. In software, right, and a lot of product development, not just software product development, but product development in general, there tends to be a lot of uncertainty. Right? And the tension that business leaders live under is that they have constraints. They have to be able to bring a product to market in a certain amount of time. And they don't have infinite money to be able to bring that product to market. So they're kind of making a bet. And that bet goes something like this, that by the summer, when I have to release this new product or I have to get to this trade show and I have to have something to demo to my clients, or maybe it's just simply I made a promise to a client and I only have so many dollars, I only have so many people that I can hire, there's only so many people that I can throw at the problem, but I need what I need when I get to that moment. And so there's this tendency, especially in the face of just tremendous uncertainty, that as leaders, we want to say, okay, here's your date, this is your team, and this is what I expect to be delivered when the time comes. And the challenge is that when leaders fix time, when they fix cost, and when they fix scope, there's kind of a hidden fourth variable. Sometimes people don't want to say iron triangle, they want to say kind of the iron square, right? And so if I make my triangle a square, what I'm basically saying is that my three variables now become four, and I have time, cost, scope, and quality. Okay? And so what happens is when you fix time and you fix cost and you fix scope, what starts to happen is that people start taking shortcuts. They start making trade-offs in the solution architecture. They start coding defects, obviously not intentionally, but they code defects. And the quality, the intrinsic and extrinsic quality of the system start to degrade over time. Even if there's no apparent defects, the technical debt that builds up in these systems over time starts to become crushing, and at some point has to be paid back. And so the physics of the triple constraints is you fix two and you let the third float. Now here's the interesting thing that I tell teams all the time in this space. It's not reasonable to go to the business and say, okay, you've given us time, you've given us cost. Now we're just going to build whatever we want in the time that we have available to us and for the team that we have. It's not just the best effort. There was an architect I worked with probably 15, 20 years ago who basically said something to the effect, he's like, Mike, this is Agile. You get what you get when you get it. And I quote him, and I've been quoting this guy for the last 20 years as really a common belief, but just like a terrible anti-pattern and a huge failure mode. If you're working in a small environment with discretionary dollars and it truly doesn't matter what you bring to market when, and you have a really high-powered team with a lot of intrinsic understanding of the solution space, you can get away with a lot of stuff in Agile. Like we have a small team that works with us where we do some internal products. And, I don't put dates and make them do roadmaps or anything. We just meet week to week and we talk about what's the most important thing. And we spend my money to build this product and we do it at a rate that I'm comfortable with. And there's certain environments where that makes sense. But this is not mission critical software that a customer's sitting there waiting on. On the other end of the spectrum, you do have critical dates and critical timelines and multiple teams that have to come together to produce an integrated product. And we have to get that integrated product out to market. And we're doing it in a fixed time and fixed cost environment. What the challenge is it's not, the scope doesn't get managed in the sense of we're just going to get what we get when we get it. What we have to do in a fixed time, fixed cost, variable scope environment is we have to strategically decompose that work such that we're maximizing the value and we're maximizing the chances of being able to have something of value to ship when we run out of time, when we run out of money. And so a lot of times what I think about is, epic decomposition into feature decomposition, into story decomposition. I think about minimally viable product all the time. We want to do the simplest thing that will possibly work all the time. The smallest amount of user stories that will deliver the feature, the smallest amount of features that will deliver the epic, the smallest amount of epics that allow us to be able to go to market. And we're relentless doing the simplest, smallest thing that will possibly work so that we run out of time and money. We have the best chances possible of being able to bring that thing that we so desperately need to market. So it requires some compromise on both sides. We acknowledge in Agile, kind of the rules of the game are fixed time, fixed cost. Basically, that's the sprint duration, the release duration, the roadmap, the size of the team, the size of the organization, right? We kind of know that, the whole thing with 9 women can't deliver a baby in a month. You can't put infinite developers on something. So on some levels, our time and our cost is fixed. So what we have to do, right? The business has to recognize that they have to have an ability to make strategic trade-offs. The business has to come to the product development organization with an understanding of how to maximize their chances of being successful. If the business doesn't come with that level of understanding and just forces the fix of the 3 constraints, then one of two things happens. We either get poor quality, which we talked about, or we just get totally blown dates and deadlines. And we see both of them in practice. It's just not a healthy thing and nobody wins. The other side of it is that the developers have to realize that they have to work with the business to help them figure out how to decompose the work and maximize their chances of being successful. So through this collaborative decomposition between the product teams and the business side of things, what we can do is we can decompose the work in such a way that the teams can stabilize velocity, operate at a sustainable pace, no death marches. The business has all of the drivers in terms of what gets built, how it gets built, what priority it gets built. The business gets to decide how to maximize their chances of getting to market at the same time. And we collaboratively make trade-offs along the way. So again, at the end of the day, the product development teams and the business have to begin to start to see themselves as partners. Now, historically, that's problematic because oftentimes there's pretty low trust in the organizations that we go into. So the product development teams don't really trust the business and the direction they're setting. The business doesn't trust the product development team's ability to deliver anything on time. So there is often a trust that has to be established. In an early stage transformation, more often than not, what I'm asking is for the teams to become trustworthy, to be able to decompose the work, to be able to establish a stable velocity, to be able to establish a stable throughput at the feature and the epic level, right? So they can start to earn the trust of the business by doing what they say they're going to do. And then when we ask the business to participate, the business participates in that decomposition and aids in the strategic trade-offs, understanding that they have to work with the product development organizations to maximize their ability to deliver within time and cost constraints. And that is the name of the game. So in Agile, what we're trying to do, fix time and cost, get the business and the product development organizations to decompose the work in such a way, strategically prioritize, focus on the minimally viable product all the time, and optimize our chances of being successful together as an organization. And that's how you make it work. It's not helpful for the business to fix all three and to demand that the product development teams try to pull a rabbit out of their hat. Sometimes that works, but it's a low probability effort. The counter reaction to that is we're Agile, we won't make any commitments. That's a non-starter too, right? Because again, we have businesses to run, right? We have profits to make and customers to satisfy and revenue to generate and all those kinds of things. So again, fix time and cost. Business and product development collaborate, strategically decompose, strategically prioritize, get the minimally viable thing done first, and then if we have time, we can go back and get the rest. And if we miss something really big, at least we did it with our eyes wide open and we put it in the next release. So that's how you manage time, cost, and scope in an Agile way. It's not healthy to do it any other way. So I strongly encourage you guys to think about that. And as always, if there's anything we can do to help, please let us know. Have a great day. See you guys. Bye-bye.